Today we look at how your parents' advice about money keeps you poor. And the question is, why do most people have a fundamentally broken understanding of how money actually works? Okay, so what we've discovered is that there are two completely different systems of financial knowledge operating in the world. There's the knowledge that gets taught to ordinary people, be grateful for what you have, and then there's the knowledge that gets passed down within wealthy families. Knowledge about how money actually moves, how power actually works, how wealth actually accumulates. And these two systems of knowledge are so different that they might as well be describing different universes. Does that make sense? So let's start with where your money beliefs come from. Most parents genuinely believe they're teaching you the right things, but they're teaching you their own programming. And if they were never wealthy, they're teaching you poverty thinking disguised as wisdom. Let me give you examples of what gets programmed into children. Money doesn't grow on trees. What does this teach you? That money is hard to get. That you should be grateful for whatever money you have because more isn't coming. Wealth and morality are opposed. That if you become wealthy, you become a bad person. So your brain creates an internal barrier. You cannot pursue wealth without feeling like you're betraying your values. You've been programmed to reject wealth as morally wrong. Okay? Get a good education and you'll be fine. That if you follow the rules, you'll be taken care of. That education is the path to security. But this is only true if your family already has money. Education without capital just creates educated workers. You are still selling your time. You're still trapped in the labor paradigm. Now, here's what's insidious about this programming. Your parents learned it from their parents. So you have generations of people passing down beliefs about money that were never questioned, never tested against reality. These beliefs just get repeated because that's what we believe in this family. And the worst part? Your parents punish you if you question these beliefs. If you say, I want to be rich, they say, money isn't everything, or you should be happy with what you have. They shut down your ambition because your ambition threatens their worldview. If you succeed where they failed, it means they made mistakes. It means their beliefs were wrong, and people cannot tolerate that. So they pull you back down to their level and call it protecting you. If I ask you, would you rather have $1,000 today or $10,000 in 10 years, most people choose $1,000 today. Why? Because 10 years feels impossibly far away. Because you don't trust that the future will actually arrive. Okay? But here's the thing. In 10 years, you're either going to have $10,000 or you're going to have spent that $1,000 years ago and have nothing. The only question is whether you're preparing for it. This is also the same with the idea and clear contrast between the rich and most poor people who think about money as something you get in exchange for your time. You work 8 hours, you get paid for 8 hours. Meanwhile, wealthy people make money through information asymmetry, proximity to power. And then they pass this knowledge down to their children as family knowledge. This is how our family operates. This is how we maintain our position. Okay? In the late 1700s and early 1800s, the Rothschilds became one of the wealthiest families in Europe. Not by working hard. Here's what they understood. Money is information. And guess what, guys? Whoever controls information controls money. The reality is that they created a private courier network across Europe faster than any government. They knew about political events, military outcomes, and market changes before anyone else knew. They used this information asymmetry to make investments that appeared risky to everyone else, but were actually certain to them. The most famous example is Waterloo. Nathan Rothschild knew Napoleon lost before the British government knew. So while everyone else was panicking and selling, he was buying. He bought British government bonds at massive discounts. And when the news became public and prices recovered, he made a fortune. Okay? But the problem is that the Rothschilds didn't just make money once. They established banks in 5 different countries: England, France, Austria, Naples, Frankfurt. 5 brothers, 5 countries, and they used this network to finance governments. So governments needed money to fight wars. The Rothschilds would then lend them money. But not just any money. Money with conditions. Money that gave them access to political decisions. They weren't just bankers. They determined which governments could afford to fight and which couldn't. And this model gets replicated over and over throughout history. Here's the mental shift you need to understand. When you think about money as payment for time, you only have 24 hours. So your income has a ceiling. But when you think about money as return on value creation, there's no ceiling. Because the value you create can be reproduced infinitely. A product can be sold 1,000,000 times. A business can operate without you. An investment can grow while you sleep. But making this mental shift requires changing how you see yourself. You have to stop seeing yourself as a laborer, someone who sells time, and start seeing yourself as a creator, someone who builds things that have value. And this is terrifying for most people, because being a laborer is predictable, but being a creator is unpredictable. You build something and maybe it has value, maybe it doesn't. So most people stay in the laborer mindset because it feels safer, even though it guarantees they'll never be wealthy. Because you cannot become wealthy by selling time. Wealth requires leverage, and leverage requires creating things that work without you. Does that make sense? Humans are wired to fear losses more than we value gains. Losing food could mean death. Gaining extra food was nice, but not critical. So we evolved to be extremely sensitive to potential losses. But this creates a problem with money. Because building wealth requires taking risks. So your brain is screaming at you, don't do it, you might lose money, even when the potential gain is much larger than the potential loss. Does that make sense? Someone offers you a bet. Flip a coin. Heads, you win $1,000. Tails, you lose $500. Should you take this bet? Mathematically, yes, your expected value is positive, but most people won't take it because the fear of losing $500 is stronger than the excitement of winning $1,000. Okay? And this same psychology applies to all financial decisions. Starting a business might make you wealthy, but it might also fail, so you don't start it. Every opportunity is rejected because the fear of loss overwhelms the possibility of gain. Now here's where it gets interesting. This loss aversion is even stronger when you don't have much money. Because when you're broke, every dollar matters. Losing $100 when you only have $500 is devastating. So you become extremely risk averse. You protect what little you have. And this makes perfect sense for survival, but it makes wealth building impossible. Because wealth building requires risking what you have to get more. So you're trapped again. Being broke makes you risk averse. Being risk averse keeps you broke. The psychology that helps you survive poverty is the same psychology that prevents you from escaping poverty. Does that make sense? Everyone has a money narrative, a story about what money means and how it works. And most people inherit this narrative from their parents without ever questioning it. Okay? But the problem is that you don't choose your narrative consciously. It's installed in your brain during childhood. And most people never examine it. They just assume their beliefs about money are facts about money. Money is hard to get. Is that a fact or a belief? For you, it might be a fact, but for someone else, it's not, which means it's not a universal truth. It's a consequence of your narrative. Because America has its own version of this system, and it's more sophisticated than most people realize. Okay? In the late 1800s, you had the so-called robber barons, Rockefeller and Morgan, Vanderbilt. These men built massive fortunes through political manipulation, through violence when necessary. Okay? Standard Oil, owned by this man, didn't succeed because it made better oil. It succeeded because Rockefeller made secret deals with railroads. The railroads would charge Standard Oil lower rates than competitors. In exchange, Standard Oil would ship exclusively with those railroads. This created a system where competitors couldn't compete even if they had a better product. They were paying higher transportation costs. So they either sold to Rockefeller